Well, here's good news. You're probably going to see a few more empty seats on your next flight thanks to bigger planes and fewer flyers. While this may be great news for passengers, is it bad news for the airline stocks, which have been diving recently? What do you think, gang?
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on here, David, as you said. First and foremost, give it up for the aircraft manufacturers. As you said, I mean, the 737-200 back in the 70s, you can fit substantially more people now with the same plane, just newer and updated. And of course, they've made the seats a little bit smaller. I'm not saying it's comfortable, but you will find more and more empty seats. The downside of that, David, to your point, is that it technically means and it technically indicates a slowing economy. So empty seats, it's been terrible for the airline stocks, and I think you have to be very careful that this is truly a harbinger for tougher times in the economy ahead.
Airlines are notorious to increase capacity too much at the most inopportune time, and this may be one of them, not only here but around the globe. There has been a bull market in aircraft. Just look at Boeing stock over the last couple of years. It has skyrocketed because of all the orders. But all those orders means a lot more seats. A lot more seats means lower prices, and the passengers are going to win over the next 6 months to a year easily.
So I'm surprised, having looked at airlines for many, many years, that one of the big determining factors of their profitability and success has been fuel prices. Certainly they must be benefiting from the fact that oil prices are down year over year. Why isn't that sort of making up for some of this other, the capacity issue?
I will tell you, some of these airlines hedge, and they lose sometimes, and they make sometimes. So you got to be careful about that. They have to hedge because just in case you get big spikes. I remember years past, Southwest Airlines, Gary Kelly became the CEO because he made a gargantuan bet as oil prices skyrocketed, and they saved, oodles of money at that time.
Gary, I remember that, but we haven't seen that, right? I mean, right now, if you hedged a year ago, I would think you're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, sure.
And to add that point, though, before in our conversation about China, we were talking about commodity prices going higher. And if this trend continues, we'll see the price of oil, which inevitably will hurt airlines if the oil continues to climb higher. But for those that are watching that don't trade airline stocks, because some argue it's just a value trap, am I the only one that's slightly happy about this type of situation? More room? Because do you know that you can buy the knee defender? Do you remember hearing about that, too? The knee defender, so you can't extend your chair back. So I can't to tell you the horror stories I've had in economy class flying in these tiny seats. So maybe it'd be nice. Thank you.
I wonder also if maybe, remember, it was about a year or two ago when all the airlines started putting in an extra fee for this and an extra fee for that. Maybe that kind of went through the system, and now they don't have any sort of little add-ons that they're adding to things. And so maybe their sort of revenue yield just isn't as good.
Well, and to your oil point, I mean, the fact is that oil was going up last year. That's one of the reasons that they raised their fares. Now that it has come down a lot, there's a question of whether we're going to have these fare wars. And that could be very good for consumers as well. It might not be good for airlines, but it'd be great for us, right?
So then wouldn't we be investing in JetBlue or Spirit Airlines, the low-budget ones?
Good point.
I hate riding them, but
the fare wars will come with empty seats. That's how it always works. It's almost like a race to the bottom on price to get people in the seats and then see how it goes. Look, for me, and I travel a lot, it's good to see because I got to tell you, some of the, especially if you have to fly within a few days, they gotcha if you have to fly within a few days with ridiculously high price. I can fly to Europe and back for much cheaper than going to the West Coast from the East Coast.
And of course, they got you in business and premium. I mean, you know, historically, economy seats are actually still relatively cheap, adjusted for inflation, even going back to the 1970s, even when you include the bag fees. Problem is that they make it so unbelievably uncomfortable from TSA through the final touchdown. I don't know, you need a handful of Xanax to get through it. But things being said, this is tremendously cost affordable, despite what we've seen in the
But when all is said and done, as long as I get there safely, I'm a happy guy.
Safety comes first.